today's pod, we're going to do a lot of draft stuff with Kevin Boyle. He's the head coach now at Spire Academy in Ohio. He was at Montverde for a long time. He won 8 national championships. Cooper Flagg will be the 4th number 1 pick that he has coached in high school. His crew from the 23-24 team went undefeated, won a national championship, and I think it's going to have 4 first-rounders on that team. So we're going to talk about his players, Cooper, and his approach to basketball, because he is a legendary name in his level. And if you love basketball, probably need to know the name. We're also going to do life advice, which is pretty standard for all of the pods, and an intro on Jrue Holiday. He's been traded to the Portland Trail Blazers. What does that mean for the money? Because that's really what this deal is about. What does it mean for the Celtics? I'm going to revisit some of the top 10 picks in the draft and a draft rumor that I can't believe. You're listening to the Ryen Russillo podcast presented by FanDuel. The NBA Finals might be over, but you can still get in on the action with America's #1 sportsbook. It's never too early to look ahead to next season with tons of futures and player specials all off season long. And if you want to keep betting on all the other excitement this summer, FanDuel has it all, from the MLB to soccer, golf, and the WNBA. Download the FanDuel app today to make every moment more. The Ringer is committed to responsible gaming. Please visit rg-help.com to learn more about the resources and helplines available, and listen to the end of the episode for additional details. Must be 21 and older and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Before we get to some of the draft stuff and life advice at the end, we had some movement last night in the NBA. Not surprising, Jrue Holiday of the Boston Celtics traded the Portland Trail Blazers for Anfernee Simons. So let's break down this deal, what it means, and a couple other offseason thoughts here. And I also wanted to update the top 10 draft pick stuff that keeps happening. So Jrue is a terrific teammate, really good player, defense first, can fit in a lot of different ways. Last year, depending on which metric you want to look at, arguably like the least impactful season he's had since his rookie year. He had just signed a 4-year extension. Last year was the first year of that 4-year extension. The numbers on what he's going to get paid the next three seasons here, $32.4 million, $35 million. The last year's $37.2 million. That's a player option. I'm reporting now that he's going to pick that one up. So you're looking at paying him $37.2 million at 37 years old, when he didn't look great this past year. And the Celtics, because they're desperate to try to lower the tax bill, get under the second apron, they move him out for Anfernee Simons, and they get a couple second rounders out of this one. And he is at an expiring contract, $27.6 million. So Simons is, look, he's 26. He's a 38% shooter for his career from 3. He's a 20-point-per-game guy on a team that's probably bad because all the shots are his. He takes the most shots of anybody. I mean, he's a really, really talented offensive player. I don't even know if this is about Simons and whether or not they could flip him because of his expiring deal. The Celtics could trade him again this offseason. So there's some rumblings that as soon as this deal went down, at least last night, it was like they may actually flip him again, because the big number is that when you look at Jrue's outgoing $32.4 million and Simons coming in at $27.6 million, when you start doing all the tax math on this deal alone saves ownership $40 million of tax savings, where the Celtics are now $18 million over the second apron. I want to go over some of the second apron stuff and just remind all of us what happens when you're a second apron team. You can't combine salaries for one player, so you can't trade a $10 million and a $10 million player for a $20 million player. You can't do the math where it's a percentage of incoming and outgoing money. It has to be dollar for dollar trades. You can't use the mid-level. You can't sign a wave player whose salary is over the non-taxpayer mid-level, which is $14.1 million. Your first round pick is frozen 7 years out if you're over the second apron. If you're over the second apron 3 out of 5 years, your first round pick moves to the end of the first round. You can't use any trade exceptions, which, again, I think like over 75% of trade exceptions are never even used. I think that's the number. I asked Bobby Marks. I was like, everybody loses their mind about trade exceptions all the time. I'm like, how many of these you use? He sent me like 20 years of the data on it. So it's something that every team and every fan base is like, oh, we have this massive trade exception. Well, in this case, don't worry about not using it, because you can't. And you also can't send out cash in trades. So pretty much a hard cap. I mean, not a hard cap, but as close as you can be to a hard cap without it being named one, I guess. So, look, gut reaction to this, I was surprised Portland did this deal because of the numbers on what Jrue is going to be. We can talk about all the things we really like about Jrue Holiday, the basketball part of it, the fit with Portland, more defense with Kamara, who I loved and voted all defensive team this year. I thought he was special defensively. So if it's about Scoot and having more defensive players around him, is that part of this? Is it because Jrue Holiday can impact a basketball game by not needing to shoot? That's definitely true. Is it just having like, hey, we need the right guy in here? Okay, but that's really expensive for like the right personality to have somebody owed over $100 million on all this stuff. Because, you know, it might have just been moving on from Simons so that Sharp gets more shots. Denny Avdia gets more shots. That Scoot gets more shots. This feels like people that have Scoot stock. It's like, yep. They're ready to get Simons away from him. Maybe it's just a really young group where Ayton's probably indifferent to competitiveness. You know, the rest of the guys are really young and they wanted somebody like Jrue coming in, but still, like you also just had him in the Dame deal and then flipped him to Boston the first time around. So I thought this was a really aggressive, expensive move where it feels like a veteran presence thing here. I mean, you may not like Simons. I think he's really talented, but he's probably a big stat guy on a bad team, but he can score. Like if he were on the Celtics and he's the sixth man or he's coming off the bench, like you would think with the second unit, if things are really focused on him getting his buckets, he's going to get them because he's a really talented player. So what does this mean for Boston now? So I think there's still a Porzingis trade out there. I mean, he turns 30 in August. He's missed 65 games in the 2 years with the Celtics. The playoffs, he wasn't really a huge factor in their championship run. Some people try to say that he was. This year, the playoffs wasn't very good. I understand why Mazzulla wanted to see if he could like kickstart him and get something out of him, but this illness thing, this mystery illness was a problem. So the next deal for Porzingis, if this were to happen, he's an expiring $30 million deal. Apparently, there's a market out there for him, despite everything that I just said. I don't know if that's an attachment. You know, I didn't think you'd be able to even get Simons back for Jrue, considering the expiring contract versus the savings, not just for this year in the tax, but getting out of the 70 plus million on the last 2 years of that deal with Jrue. But, you know, with Porzingis, even at 30 million, other than the Nets, there's no team you could just dump his number in and give him an asset and have them take up some of their cap space because there's nobody in this free agent class that they want to sign. Like 30 million is a number that's north of like, I think everybody that has cap space. And some of those teams are like, probably feel like they're going to be competitive. So I don't know if other teams look at Porzingis and think that's adding somebody. Even if you loved his game, you'd have to look at the last 2 years and go like, what are we actually betting on here at 30 million? But apparently there is a market for him. So it'll really be about how much lower or how much they can lower that $18 million number over the second apron. So now, you know, whether it's Simons being traded again and flipped to get that second apron lower, whether it's Porzingis taking care of that in one transaction, again, that would be difficult with the outgoing money. Then you start wondering, like, what would the Celtics really be capable of this offseason? I think it's worth at least spending a couple minutes on that. We know Jaylen Brown, probably not as great a season, but made sense to do the extension at the time because nobody just goes, hey, we just don't want to pay you the 5 years, $285 million. So he's owed 4 years, $235 now at this point. It's a massive number. Looking at the market for a team that felt like they missed out on Durant, would those teams then be motivated to try to trade for Jaylen Brown? And I think if you're a Celtics fan, you had a hope that Houston would maybe miss out on Durant, and then maybe they would think like, we just need somebody who's established a better scoring option to close out games than what we have. It would also mean the Celtics would have to like Jalen Green, which I'm not sure that they do. And he's also sort of expensive, not crazy expensive like Jaylen Brown, but you get the number. We've already been through all this stuff with Jalen Green. It's like 30 plus a year. Once Houston gets KD, then I think that takes away an option where there's maybe some attractive smaller pieces for a team like Boston that might be just doing a simple reset for 25, 26. You know, Miami wanting to be in on it. I don't know what you would possibly want if you were Boston for Miami. The Minnesota stuff doesn't make as much sense. Like you're going through the teams that have lost out. Is there something from San Antonio that actually would make sense if the Celtics decided, okay, here's the first piece, Porzingis is the next one, and we actually want to mini tank for 1 year with Tatum out with the Achilles injury and then reset this thing for 26, 27. Because I've heard that argued, is that might actually be the move. This season's going to be a waste, even if you're a competitive 4 or 5 seed, because Jaylen Brown and Derik White, and you figure out the center position, and there's a tweak here, tweak there, and we really like the depth around it. Like, the East is a mess. Let's just kind of see what happens, remain competitive, and have kind of a fun season with no expectations whatsoever. All right, that's one part of it. The other one's like, what's the point of even doing that if you know you're not getting Tatum back? Take a reset year, not a full-blown tank, because you're waiting on Tatum, and then see if it works out. I think that's an awesome, like, if I were in my 20s, I would probably go, that's the way to do it. That's awesome. Tank right now. Get rid of all these guys. Jaylen Brown for draft picks, assets expiring, reset this whole thing around. But then it's like, okay, but then what are you going to be in 26, 27? And then Tatum's a little bit older going, what the fuck happened to this team? Right? And ask Utah, ask Washington, ask New Orleans. I don't think Charlotte was really trying to tank, but ask those teams how they felt about their approach this past season, and then watching Dallas, San Antonio, and Philadelphia end up with the top 3 picks. The reset, rebuild, the speed with which so many people think that that's a real solution, that's actually so much riskier than I think people understand. Well, I think we all understand how risky it is, but in the moment, it's like, wow, man, I mean, I can't wait to get this pick. It's like, yeah, now you're picking 6th, and you still stink. So is it really worth it to Boston to get really aggressive? And I think Brad Stevens is the kind of guy, it's like, maybe there's a Jaylen Brown deal that's out there that makes sense, but I don't know that he would ever go into this portion of the NBA calendar thinking, I have to trade Jaylen Brown. And my guess would be that there's not going to be anything that's, well, I can't say that we're surprised by this league all the time, but I don't feel like, I just don't know that Brad Stevens has ever try to put himself in a position where he felt like he had to do something, because whenever you're doing that in a negotiation or any kind of transaction, it means you're usually going to lose. So a quick recap of the top 10 draft picks from the last few years, because I like looking at this all the time, as much as I love what's about to happen on Wednesday night and how excited we all get about the unknown and the drama surrounding pick 3 down, because that's, I think, what's going to be fun about this. Although it feels like more and more people think VJ Edgecombe just goes to Philly at 3. You know, that's a wrap. But if you go back, and I'm going to go through the last few years, because I could have gone even further to tweak the numbers even more in the favor of the argument, just how often these top 10 picks are on another team really quickly. 2017 draft, 2 of the top 10 picks are still with a team. And I don't want to do the technical team that drafted him. I think we're all adults here. We know, hey, this team had this guy as a rookie. Is he or is he not still on this team? It's actually 3 technically, with Jakob Poeltl back with Toronto. So, but yeah, 2 of the top 10 picks have stayed with the team that drafted him the entire time. 3 guys from that draft. Again, it's not like it's a long time ago, but things move fast in sports. 3 are already out of the league. 2017, 2 of the top 10 picks with the team that took them. 3 also out of the league. 2018, 2 of the top 10 picks still with the team that brought them in. By the way, the 11th pick that year in the draft just won the MVP and the finals MVP. 2019, 4 of the top 10 picks. 5 years ago, 2020 draft, 5 of the top 10 picks. 2021, 6 of the top 10 picks. Kuminga staying strong, keeping that number north of 50%. And then 2022, the exercise is over. Dyson Daniels, Johnny Davis, the only of the top 10 picks in 2022, only 3 years ago, that are not with the team that brought them in. Davis's own issues, Dyson in the DeJounte Murray trade. So if we really go through 17, 21, 6-year average, 3.5 picks of the top 10 picks stay with the team that brought them in. Last draft nugget. When we had Vicini on, I had him guess. I was like, who do you think I didn't like of all the first round guys that I spent time on? And I think he got it on a second guess. He said Essengay, French kid, plays in this German league, and he's in the news. And a bunch of us had heard this the last few days. Essengay's team in the German league is in their championship, their finals, and he's coming to New York for the draft. He's leaving the team. And when we heard this, a bunch of us were like, no fucking way is this true. Like, there's no way. Because somebody was like, hey, you don't like him? Well, you're really not going to like him once you hear this. And I asked somebody else, and they're like, hey, I heard that. And then it kind of kept coming around. It's like, there's no way somebody's going to actually do this. Because if you're willing to quit on your team that's playing for a championship to go to the draft, to be there in person, like if I had Essengay and another player tied and I had like the 12th pick, like, well, he just broke the tie. I wouldn't even want to draft you. Now, could this all be an overreaction? Sure. I imagine somebody, I don't know that there's going to be a ton of Essengay segments on television on some of the bigger networks out there. I guess I could see somebody zagging and trying to say that this is about his moment. He wants to be there. You know, every kid dreams of this, walking across the stage, hugging the commissioner, putting on the weird hat that never fits right. Let him have his moment. You know, it's bigger than, I don't know. Imagine not caring. Now, maybe he has this terrible, I know nothing about his situation, but the fact that you are signing up for a career in this competitive of a setting where basically your profession is being competitive, and then to say, yeah, I know, but like, I'm out. And it's funny too, because like, look, the tape is the tape. I've been wrong plenty of times. I don't like what I saw. There's some really funny advanced numbers that tell you he's good. I'm telling you, it's the free throw bullshit. He was, I think, 4th in minutes and 6th in shot attempts, and he took 2 more free throws per game than any other teammate. He was at like 5.6, so it makes his true shooting percentage look a lot better. And then another team heard me talk about him, and they were like, we actually really like him because we think defensively he can do some of these things. I was like, okay, fine. Like, again, all these people have watched him far longer than I have. But to me, this would be a major red flag if it's as simple as, yeah, I just wanted to go to the draft and I didn't care, unless there's more to it where it's like he never got along with the coach, didn't like his teammates, they didn't care, any of this kind of stuff. But that's fucking crazy to me. Like, imagine if the college basketball were the Final Four, but the Final Four were Wednesday. And a guy who's projected to go, I guess, late lottery, teens, say, you know what, Houston, like, Kelvin, I love this team. I love this run we've been on. I know we've got a big one on Wednesday night, but I just want to hear my name called. It's so confusing because no one really knows who the guy is. I don't know how much it'll be talked about, but it was something that people were in disbelief about, that work, you know, that this is their profession. The draft is their profession. And they're like, is a guy really going to fucking do this? And I guess he is, unless something changes. All right, let's talk to a guy who knows a lot about NBA draft picks, and that's former Montverde coach, now at Spire Academy, Kevin Boyle. This episode is brought to you by State Farm. It's no secret that great teams need great teammates. And when it comes to insurance, State Farm is there to help you select the right coverage for your home, car, and more. Whether you need an in-person or digital assist, they're ready when life hits you with a full court press. Get a game plan that helps fit your life and talk to State Farm today. State Farm with the assist. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability and eligibility vary by state. With draft week upon us, a bunch of guys spent some time playing basketball down in Montverde. And it sounds weird to even introduce him this way, but he's the head coach, Kevin Boyle, now with Spire Academy. And after 8 national championships in not that many more years, is it still weird to you to hear yourself introduced from another place?
Yeah, it is. I don't like change. I was at St. Patrick's in New Jersey for 24 years, where I had the pleasure of coaching like Kyrie Irving and Al Harrington and Samuel Dalembert. And then the last 14 years I've been at Montverde Academy. So, that was a great challenge to go to Montverde and try to help them get to the top of the high school basketball world. And now we're trying to do the same thing at Spire Academy.
So when you look at this class that is now getting ready for the draft, so it's Cooper, it's Liam, it's Asa, it's Derik Queen. You also had Robert, who's, Baylor and then now BYU. I mean, this is an all-time class, 33-0 national championship. Is this, when you got this group in, and you got them in at different stages, to know that 4 are going in the first round this week, is this what you expected when you brought in this group?
No, not at all. I mean, I thought without question Cooper Flagg had that potential to be a high lottery pick. Liam, I think, worked like hell to at first to be a guy that I think some people question. Is he a second round pick? Could he be a first round player? You know, due to can he guard in that level? Can he rebound at that level? And that's where he really developed. And then Asa was unheard of. When he came in, we knew he had talent, was good, but nobody knew who he was when he was a junior, you know. And Derik Queen was a guy there was a guy that I always thought could be a good pro, but nobody seemed to agree with me. And I just thought he was the joker of high school. He was this super smart, super skilled, knew how to play, just needed his motor to get better. And over time, it started getting better and better. And, you know, again, so that was the situation. So one guy you were sure on, I mean, who knows? Hopefully they all get in the lottery. They're all going to be close, but they'll all be first-round picks without question. And we also have Ryen Russillo will be a second-round pick, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. Projected to be a second rounder, and just a really good combine week as well. So when you think about, you know, Cooper, he's going to be your fourth number one overall pick that you've coached at the high school level. And, you know, you're bringing in all these high-profile guys. What is the message to, you know, somebody that's like, you may have to play a little bit differently. You're going to have times where you defer as opposed to being the number one option like you've been at other high school programs.
Well, I think the message, first of all, is transparency, and to get them to understand they're not running plays in the NBA for the third, fourth, fifth, sixth option. Okay, you're the one guy or the two guy, or you better learn how to fit in and figure it out. So you get drafted by the Cavs, and that guy is Kyrie Irving, and that guy's LeBron James. Well, guess what? They're not going to you. So how do you get on the court? You guard, you know how to share, you can make open shots. You can play a impactful role in a different way and wait your turn to get an opportunity to star if you have that level of ability. But defense, guarding Andrew Nembhard, it gets you on the court. It gives you a chance. And, you know, now he's one of the elite guard defensively. He rebounds the ball, and he had a $60 million deal from the Pacers and has started 3 years in a row as a second-round pick. So we really try to explain how they can fit in at first. That doesn't mean you can't be a star, and being a role player is not a negative thing. Steph Curry's a role player. His role is to get 30. You know, Draymond Green's role was to distribute it, guard, be the physical guy in the team. So everybody has a different piece in having a championship team. So we try to be very honest to them, and also to tell them how many guys that are ranked really high are not playing. Look at the NBA playoffs. T.J. McConnell, Andrew Nembhard, Halliburton, Naismith. A load of these guys were not ranked in the top 25, top 50 of high school basketball. And a load of those guys are home and they're still playing. So we try to really get them to understand that, where they're trying to go.
How tough are your practices?
Well, we take a lot of pride in that. Our thing is we don't want them to go to a college and them to say practice is harder in college. And, you know, we've gotten really good feedback from our guys with that. And maybe we're wrong in doing that, I don't know. But our thing is we try to make practice as hard and as detailed as a game. And we just think, you know, to me, anything in life is detail and fundamentals and repetition. And to get Cooper a lot better and lower with his hand, or to get him better using his left hand. Derik Queen, we wouldn't let him handle the ball in open court for a year and a half until we started drilling more seriously and getting a little tighter with the ball and understanding when Rob Wright's around, you get the ball up, not dribbling by Rob Wright in the court. And then we let him go, rebound and go. And he eventually got good at it, but he understand, like, you know, can I play quarterback? The question is, I don't know, can you? If you're good enough to play quarterback, we'll let you play it. But you have to be skilled enough for a team to let you do that, not just because you want to do it. You know, so that's, the practices were very hard, very competitive. And I think that's a big piece of these guys, is telling them that's how you get better. Challenge Liam guarding Cooper every day. Cooper guarding Liam. Cooper getting caught in the post with Derik Queen. Those are real NBA, high college type situations.
You're considered the best high school coach doing it. I don't know if you like that kind of stuff, but that's how you're talked about. And when you consider all these national championships and the NBA resumes of these players, it does feel like there has to be a real buy-in. I mean, even if a kid's a 5-star and ranked top 10 in his class, there has to be like a real commitment where it feels, and, you know, look, we can talk about the academic part of it, but this feels like you've put together this run, this basketball factory. Is that for everybody? Because I can imagine there's some times it's like, hey, this guy's really talented, but he's not a Mountain Bird guy.
Well, again, it's the reality of it is 100%. You know, right now, I'm explaining to the people at Spire, it's an incredible campus here. It's unbelievable, but it's the culture, the guys you're bringing in. Like, they're like, can you get that guy? Can you get this guy? But that guy and that guy will not work with the culture of what you're trying to develop, and the relationships with the campus and its teachers and the dorm parents. And that's a big factor in having success. The greatest thing with that group of guys, first of all, he had 6 seniors. There's another guy, Curtis Gibbons, who's excellent, was at LSU last year, started 14 games. He'll be at Memphis this year. Rob Wright, who got $3 million at BYU, were the 4 guys in the draft. And I went to those guys and said, listen, we should start 6 guys and rotate because it's going to be not good mentally. They won't shut down a sense of effort. The other guys, if it's A or B who doesn't start. But I don't think it's the best thing for our chance to win and develop. And this was including Cooper. Cooper didn't start like 5 games this year because we rotated 6 guys. And because that was the best thing. And all those guys, including Cooper, like, coach, whatever, we just want to win and get better and be good in the pros and get to the end game. And we want to win. And if you think that's the best, we're all in. So those are like Cooper Flagg, because he could easily push back on that. He was like, coach, whatever you need. If that's what you think is best, I'm all in. But these guys are really unique guys, personality-wise as well. They're all good.
If he had pushed, if Cooper had pushed back, would you have been like, okay?
Then I would have probably relented. As tough as I want to be, then I would have probably made some excuse.
What's your favorite thing about Cooper that those of us that don't know him don't know about?
Well, my favorite thing with him is, I think, because he's not overly talkative, in the public. I think it can be misunderstood. I think he's very humble for his success level and very willing to get better. He's very coachable. When he came, I thought he had, his mom and Andy, who coached him with the main AAU team. He did a really good job, but because of his size, a lot of times he was like 4 or 5 with those guys. Just because he's from Maine, he's one of the bigger guys even when he's young. I think he really grew into a really good, perimeter player overall, and more getting away from a 4-5, more to a 2-3-4, and especially a 3-4. And I think we had great training, great support, great community in Maine. And like I said, Andy and those guys, Matt, he did his trainer did a great job with him. But I think what I love about him is you could be very honest with him about his weaknesses, and he's very accepting of that. Like, I could tell him, listen, right now we're going to pin down for a shot. We're going to Liam McNeely. We're going to post up. We're going for Derik Queen. We're going to ball screen and go to Rob Wright. And you're the best player in the world at your age. Okay, so you got to become first in 2 of those 3 if you're going to be an elite NBA scorer. And he's mature enough to understand, first of all, I get why you do that, coach. And secondly, I understand, as good as I am, to be an elite top 10, top 5 NBA player, yes, I got to be better than those 2, at least 2 of those 3 things, like those guys, where I'm the first option in all those. And he's growing his game. To me, he's going to probably be a 19, 7-7, 22, 10-8, and kind of like Cade Cunningham, who we had, and all of a sudden you're like, he's averaging 27, 11-9, and just incredibly impactful. But he's also very liked by his teammates. He knows how to interact and get along with people and his teammates. They all like him, and they all respect him because he works really hard.
Does Dallas even have to call? I mean, maybe they just have to because they're supposed to call and background everybody that they're picking. I can't imagine that's necessarily like the most intense conversation because the decision's already been made.
It's funny. We get calls all the time about background checks. We never got one from Dallas. So I think it's pretty obvious. Yeah. And, and people know he's been out there in the street. These guys are around. All the NBA scouts are a lot of things. And a lot of times when they go to these events, which you try to tell kids, it's like, they're not just watching you. They're watching you on the bench, and they're watching your family who's with you. And if you're a superstar, you got a little grace there. But if you're somebody else, you cannot be in the league because of that. They want professional guys in the league now. Now, if you're an unbelievable talent, there's a little grace. There's no chance. But you better be putting 5,000 people in the arena for that, So, I mean, again, he's just going to be terrific, I think. I think he's going to be a top 5 pro. In 5-7 years, he's going to be in that conversation for first team All-Pro.
Is there anything that, this feels like I'm either going to get a great answer or the answer is just painfully obvious, and maybe you'll entertain me. But is there something about the number 1 picks that felt different now that you've had 4 of them?
You know what? It's something you're really so happy for those guys and their families because, they were really all good guys who worked really hard, and it's life-changing, obviously, from a personal standpoint, it's an accomplishment standpoint. and obviously a financial standpoint. So, you're really happy for all of them. And then for me personally, obviously, it's very rewarding that, you were able to help these guys exceed their expectations. These were all pros wherever they were going to be. But we like to think that what we're doing in the detail and the practices help them exceed their expectations, because none of our guys go to the league and don't play really well. They don't go to college. They're all ready immediately to compete and play. And that's, first, for them, what they've accomplished. But it's also for the talent in the building and the fact that we're going to coach them hard. And I think most guys want to get coached hard as long as you're respectful. Like I tell guys, you can't tell me you want to be an NBA player, don't work hard. You can't tell me you want to be an NBA player, don't get in the weight room. You can't tell me, in any area of development, you can't tell me you want it, because they'll give you the answers. Yes, I have to work hard. Yes, I have to do the right thing in the weight room. Well, then I'm going to hold you accountable to it, because otherwise I'm letting you down if I don't push you to that limit, to that level.
You mentioned Derik's game. It is the kind of game where it's like, if the NBA team lets him be him, then it has a chance, and my fear is, man, I hope he doesn't get stuck. And then it's like, hey, we can't let you use your creativity and your scoring ability with your size. Cause like when it's good, it's really, really impressive. But, a lot of times, as we both know, you get drafted and it's like, okay, but you're going to have to figure out a way to impact the game playing off the ball. And are you going to stretch the floor? Are we going to run post-ups for you, which nobody seems to want to do anymore? What's the best kind of like philosophical fit for him? We don't have to pick a team here, but for Derik to be the best version of himself.
I think what he'll be really good is when people, trap or blitz ball screens and he gets the short roll and he's caught up in 4-on-3s, then he's exceptional. He's a really good passer, a really good decision maker, and he's not that fast. It almost helps him because he has good pace and he's under control, reading, and figuring things out. I also think he's become a guy that's his shot's getting better. And I think you see his foul shot was at 80+% last year. So I'm not saying he's a 3-point shooter, but I think he's at least more than keep you honest now screened into the 17-footer. You both want to go with Rondo on a wing screen? Well, I could pop out and knock this out and keep you honest. And if you close out, and you're most big guys in the NBA, he's crafty. He's going to get by those guys, and everybody's hugging and staying. It's like T.J. McConnell. It's like he's playing one-on-one, going around, and everybody's like glued to their man. It's like, wait, he's just playing one-on-one with this guy. 4 other guys like hugging their man, and he's dribbling under the rim, outside, and it's stuff that wouldn't happen in the college game. But I think a lot of times, in a weird way, it's easier to get to the rim and score for some of these guys in the NBA, where the college is so helping and so loading at the elbows and so loading on rotations, because there's not as many shooters as there is in the NBA. The analytics aren't used quite as much, where everybody's just hugging their man. So I think he's going to, I think, again, he's not going to be as good as the Joker by any means, but he's going to be, which I mean, very complimentary, which means you're a really good player. He's similar to the Joker, just not quite as big and not quite as good, but he's going to be really, really good. I think he's going to be, I think 5 years from now, when you redraft his class, he's going to be in the top 5 of the draft.
Okay, Asa is probably somebody who fits in with more teams just because of the energy, the effort. When I went back and looked at a lot of his stuff, Gonzaga comes out, puts up a huge number on him. And what kept me coming back was like, Asa's playing like he doesn't know what the score is, which was probably one of my favorite moments of his entire season.
Well, I love Asa, but he probably didn't know what the score was. No, I'm kidding. Now, Asa's incredibly bright. He was like the valedictorian of our school. Him and Liam McNeil were in the senior year. They were the 2 smartest kids in the school. So, he's incredibly bright. I'm kidding. But he just has one way in life: to play hard, to do the right thing every second, every day. Like, he tried to win every single sprint in practice. Any drill, there was never anything less than 100. You never had to try to light a fire under him. The fire was always there. And again, going to be a great rim runner, going to be a great screen up top for a dunk to pinch the corners in and help. And he's also a good, and I think he'll be a very good, because I think he'll take 1,000 shots a day because he has pride in his game. Screen, drag and shoot, or screen and pop 3. That creates problems, especially for the Joker and those type of guys if he's in a 5-roll. Like those guys who can't really get out and guard as well. He's going to give those guys a lot of problems because they're ability to shoot. And then if they do come up on him, he's pretty quick. He'll go by those guys easy. So I think he's going to, again, be a really good career pro without question. I think he's going to have a lot of years as a starter, and I think he's an exceptional get.
I like Liam probably more than the numbers would say, because like I look at the shooting, I go, there's no way this is who he is as a shooter. It was pretty clear that Hurley trusted him in huge spots to probably play a little out of position because they didn't love their guards all the time. So even though he probably feels like, again, you were talking about the projections and maybe he wasn't even supposed to be here, but there was a moment with his size and his ball handling where you're thinking, okay, this could be really, really good. And now he's maybe late teens, early 20s, but I just have a hard time believing that the shooting numbers that he put together this year are who he is as a shooter.
Yeah, I think Liam's a good to very good shooter without question. And I think that's the biggest thing. He needs to become a sniper. And I think he's got one. He works as hard as anybody, and he's confident. And you're not going to knock his confidence off. And he will end up being, again, I think, a terrific pro. I think what's the guy, Braun, is it, on Denver? I think, he's from Kansas, a really good pro. I think he's at least on that level. A guy that's, he's starting in the NBA, and he's a really productive player. And I think, again, I can't see him. He's got good size, too. He's like 6'8", strong. I remember him as a junior telling him, you know what, you got to guard better. You got to rebound your position. Nobody's got you in the first or second round right now when I talk to NBA teams. And, his thing then was to almost just fight guys for rebounds and fouling the hell out of guys guard. And I'm like, he was immediately brought in. So he's like, I get it, coach. And I'm like, you might not even start here as a junior if you don't turn the shit up. And he just got it and figured it out. And again, I think I was just so fortunate because those guys were so rare because they also worked incredibly hard. And Derik Queen benefited from it because Derik, when he was first here, he was young and overweight. And that group helped him rise up and learn to work harder. He still has a level or two. He's not turned a notch up. But he also plays a little bit different, kind of like the Joker. If you went to, Serbia today and seen him in the park, you might say, well, I don't know if he can play in our league. No, he plays. We're not so sure watching him in this pickup game. So Derik's just different. He's kind of a throwback. So I think he'll be fine. And again, Liam, I think he's going to be exceptional a little bit. I think he's going to be really good. I think he's going to be a guy that's with so many good, like you get on a team with a good isolation player, like when they have to help, he's going to be a guy, I think, especially if it's just spot ups, he's going to knock those down. It's can you get to the next level where we give you zoom handoffs in the shots, where we give you pin downs in the shots, and you're running from side to side. And then you become another level player. But he's going to minimally be an excellent knockdown open shooter, playing with a good skilled one-on-one isolation guy where you have to overhelp. Like last night in the championship, twice they kind of overhelped in that little run in the third quarter. And, as GA kicked it out and they bang, bang. And OKC wasn't shooting well for most of the series, which helped Indiana. But when they're making shots, then how do you guard him? Well, now you got to help, and then these guys are banging shots, and that's where he's going to fill in I think his game is almost better for the NBA because his ability to shoot the ball. And I think, it's around a little bit of inconsistency this year. I think it's more an aberration than a reality.
How has, we spent a lot of time talking about the NIL because of how much I love college sports. How has it impacted the high school level?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's here and it's really coming because, everything trickles out from the NBA to college to high school. And, it doesn't matter if anybody agrees with it, likes it, or doesn't like it. It's the reality of college basketball today. It's the reality of most states in high school. You get an NIL. The days of me getting Cooper Flagg to turn down $1 million to stay for zero are probably over. Because at that point, not many guys were getting paid. Maybe a few in overtime, a league or something. But now a lot of kids are getting paid. Like different, some shoe companies, some agents, because they can deal with the kids now. So it's a different game. And that being said, it's here and it's going to be a part of it. So I think the teams that want to stay elite are going to have to figure that out in the high school space.
When it was talked about in college, and like this is something I've talked about with years, it's like, man, we get really concerned about younger people we'll never meet. And yet it's this traditional and now feels outdated. Like, oh, you're going to have problems in the locker room. You're going to have all these different dynamics. You're entering all this stuff. There's going to be a level of entitlement. I mean, I'm sure there are examples of it, but is it safe to say that it's still the same, but different? Like you could have really had those problems before the money was as much of a factor as it is today. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, your thoughts on the criticisms of the evolution of the compensation here.
Yeah, I don't think the compensation is as much as the problem as the ability to transfer year in, year out. I think when the coach has them, there's an occasional guy that might be a disruptive guy or whatever, and always say he's making more than so many assistants if it's a college. But the reality is, I don't think that comes into play as much as people think. I think the bottom line is, kids want to be coached. It's setting the boundaries, and kids want to get better, and kids want to be in the league. And I think, now money's part of it. And yes, you do have to deal with a little bit of who's getting most, because they're going to talk. But that's also a grown-ups conversation with you. Right now, this guy's better than you. Or right now he's in a position where, you came in 6 months ago and he came in after you, and he was in a better negotiating position. And the next time maybe you will be. And that's just, real business world stuff. That's, people have to understand and deal with. So I don't think that's going to be as much of a factor as people think. I don't think it's affected college overly. I think it's more the transfer rule. People going to transfer every year is more that I almost like to see 2-year contracts where guys have to you buy out to get out, because it's just too easy to transfer. I think that's more the problem, more the trouble with college basketball today.
Why has it always been high school for you?
I don't think too far ahead. I love the age group. I love, at first I loved a lot the fact that you can make your own schedule. And I probably got a head job too early, where then it was hard to go to, being an ops guy for somebody, and I got in St. Pat's in New Jersey, St. Patrick's. I was like 24, and that was my passion. And it also lets you say, if I want to go to my daughter's, cheerleading competition, I can throw the team out of the gym like I'm mad at them because she has a competition in an hour and tell them we're coming at 4:30 in the morning. I can't do that as an assistant at Kentucky or, probably even as the head guy there. So I think, and then at one point I almost went to college years ago. My sons were both ready to play for me. I wanted to coach them in high school and have that experience. And I just, I've always been comfortable with the level. And then I also got to a point where, from a never unbelievable, but enough financially where it was like, do I go to like Danny Hurlius? It was a friend of mine, and obviously in competitor. When I was in New Jersey, it was me versus Hurlius. It was St. Anthony's and St. Benedict's and me. And the reality is, I knew Danny was going to do an excellent job coaching against him, but he had to go to Wagner first. He wasn't going to get a job higher than Wagner because he's coming from high school. Then he had to go to Rhode Island. Then it's like, that really helped him. It helped him a little bit. Wagner didn't help him at all. His St. Benedict's team would have beat Wagner. So that was just, but it's just the way the system's set up. It's like, you need a college degree to get this job. You need that to go here. So that's more the issue. It's like if you were a Power 4 type school, that's a different story. But when you're at the mid to lower Division I schools, you better be sure that, you have confidence in yourself, but you also don't, you can't think you can make chicken salad and chicken poop. Like you better have good resources, good staff, good financial support from the school, or no matter, even if you're Rick Pitino, you could be struggling at one of those places. Iona changed the numbers for him. If they were the old Iona numbers, he might still be at Iona, as good as he is. They upped the bar because he was Rick Pitino, but if he wasn't Rick Pitino yet, he might have got stalled there. If he was a young 30, 35-year-old guy without the reputation of Rick Pitino in college basketball and without the backing of some financial people to give him money and give him support to outgrow, to be more competitive than the rest of the league. So you're not going to win without really talented players and talented staff with you.
It's an unbelievable resume. I wish you all the luck at Spire, because I'm sure it was a big decision for you. And enjoy draft night as a bunch of your guys get their names called. Well,
I appreciate it, but I'll tell you this. You got to come down and see this place. It's one of the most amazing facilities, and the growth here. This program and the school, I'm telling you, within 2 or 3 years, will be as bigger than IMG from every standpoint. And IMG, I have great respect for. They're like the model of how to run a business and a school. And the people here have great respect for them, and, kind of watched a lot what they've done and how they grew that into $1 billion business, sale. And, we have all the right people in place to make this, you won't go around the world in 5 years and people who know who Spire is. So thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like I think we all know in basketball they got the right guy. So, like I said, thanks so much for the time, Kevin. Enjoy the week. All right.
Thanks.
You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Today's life advice is presented by State Farm. On the basketball court, the best players know when to pass, and off the court, you still need teammates who are there when it counts. That's where State Farm comes in. With agents and online tools to help you find the coverage you need, you can focus on what really matters, whether that's hitting game winners or just getting through the day. State Farm with the assist. LifeAdviceRR@gmail.com. Good to see Kyle. Good to see Wargon. Is already get a wry smile on his face. What's going on?
You just nailed that. Nothing. You just nailed that intro. I think that's me and him just locked eyes. Like the assist. Hell yeah.
What's that shirt from? A paper convention?
Talking to me?
No.
Me? My brother works here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It looks a lot like a shirt that is in a gift bag at some Residence Inn networking thing. No.
Maybe I don't go to many Residence Inn networking events. Maybe I got to start. Today's the day.
Hilton Honors guy.
Unfortunate for you. No idea what you're missing.
I'll just say this while you're searching for our first thing.
Yes.
Werner showed up. It really wasn't hitting at the first one. It was warm. I just popped it out of the box. Thank you to that guy for the Amazon gift card. I put it in with ice, and maybe that screwed it up a little bit. So I waited till one got cold, tried it. I'd certainly put it above Canada Dry. But I think Seagram's still the winner. So I just wanted to, check that box. Thank you for sending that, but it's definitely not the best one.
This isn't about the ginger ale. This is about the TVs.
God, you see right through me. Read me like a book.
Because every time you bring up getting free ginger ale, I immediately remember I've got to email the guy about the TVs.
Still didn't do it. I thought you were just going to be like waiting on a response. Damn. Just lie to me next time.
No, I'll do it.
I know you will.
But then when I get done with the pod, I just get so amped to go.
Got to get in the ocean. Yeah.
Do something physical. Yeah. It's like that's a tough window to get to me. Because I'll have a few things I have to do, but then I get done. It's like, got to put yourself through something to then get through the rest of the day. So
write it on your surfboard. See if that works. When you're like about to stand up, you're like, shit, TVs.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Anything else? Any other housekeeping things? Any other tension that we need to talk about? No.
Not
no,
unless
I
you got something.
Right.
No. We actually were going to have Ceruti on to talk soccer, but then we didn't. So I don't know. I don't think he cares. If you want to talk about a guy who just does not, he is just flatline all the time. He doesn't really get upset about that much stuff. Right,
what would he be upset about in this situation?
Your rise to power? Your approval rating? Being higher than his, perhaps?
No, I don't think that's true.
Well, you don't see all the emails. All right. Let's see here. All right. We knew this was going to happen. People in Norfolk, Virginia, not thrilled. Some people were saying, how could you say, because you went to Portsmouth, that you understand Norfolk? I stayed in Norfolk, too, when I wasn't able to stay in Portsmouth, which actually is a win, now that I think about it. I don't know if the Chamber of Commerce down there is going to make shirts that say better than Portsmouth. But we had a lot of military guys chime in here. And so I believe there was even some San Diego pushback. I'll tell you this. I don't know. 7 years ago, we had a crew that did Coronado, which is not where you would be living, I would imagine. But we did the Coronado group, 7 to 8 people. There was a birthday party for somebody else. And we had a blast in Coronado. And then even in some of those military dive bars where, no matter what you do, again, we had girls with us. Everything was fine. It was very normal. But you could just see man, young dudes must come in here and just get their asses handed to them.
Right. Be respectful.
by these guys that are in here that are training, and then they get to just hang out, whatever. So we actually did have a great time, but I would say, what is it, the gas lamp district? You just get a little bit older. It's not great, but it is a funny story because I was with another dude. Well, I guess we could say the names, Matt Bushman, who, was married to Sarah Walsh, and they're great friends. And so it was Sarah, it was a couple other girls, a few that have been on TV or were still on TV. So not bad to look at, gang. And so there was like a dude from some club that it was just a really aggressive thing. I think anybody that's like in the city, San Diego, would agree with me. And again, maybe this has no impact whatsoever. And the emailer's like, yeah, I'm not going to be doing any of that stuff. So why are you talking about it? But never afraid to share a story, even if no one wants it. A guy comes out in like a suit. He's a club promoter. We know the guy, right? And he sees the group of women, and Matt and I are like trailing behind, and he starts going like, oh, you have to come into my club. You have to get right.
Great.
What's your ownership percentage? We're going to set it all up. We're going to table bottles, the whole thing. And they're all like, all right, great. Let's do this for an hour. So they escort them all right in front of Matt and I. And then I'm like, I think I know what's about to happen. And they send them in, and they're like dancing. They're setting up a table. And then Matt and I are like waiting. Okay. Man. We're like, what's going on here? And the guys are like, well, you have to pay. We're like, for everything? Like, what happened to the whole, we're going to take care of all of them? They're like, well, we didn't know that you were with them, but since you're here or whatever. And then I was like, well, I'm not, like, we don't even want to do that. We don't want to bottle service all night. We don't want to do this. And they were like, well, no, they're already in there, dude. And you're just like, what is this? Like handing me a fucking CD in Soho?
Yeah, really though, right?
Right. You're just like, no, I don't want your CD.
We have your women.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't think this is a kidnapping charge. But anyway, went in, was like, hey, they're not actually going to like let Matt and I in unless we pay for everything now. And they're like, all right, beat it. So that's probably has nothing to do with you and your family. And I was,
I didn't see the road we were going to take.
It was just a San Diego story.
Cool.
Yeah. Cause when I think about San Diego, I think about that. And that's totally unfair because the surrounding areas are terrific and, whatever. I really called myself out on that one. Okay. Do you want to go to Dierks Bentley tonight, Kyle?
No.
Wow.
Wait, with you?
No. Tomorrow night. Excuse me.
No.
I have the draft. I have night 2 of the draft.
Yeah. Sorry. Night 2. I forgot.
Yeah. Maybe they can break this up into 15 picks. We go 4 nights in a row. All right. Because somebody was offering up Dierks Bentley tickets. Wargon, I know you love.
Respectfully, no. But yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. I think that'll do it. Oh, maybe a Friday feedback here. 510. He's been to 48 of the 50 states visited. My sole criterion for having visited a state is if I've run there. All right, this will be relevant. You guys know off the top of the head how many states you haven't been to?
Forrest Gump over here.
I got a little map on the wall that we scratch off. But I can't tell from here, yeah.
You're going to be such a fun dad.
I hope.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, guys, break out the maps.
Kicking that can down the road, though.
Yeah. Like, okay, how many license plates? We're almost there.
Is that a Delaware quarter? Give me that.
How many states have you not been to, Wargon?
Oh, a bunch. Like 18, maybe.
All right.
Kyle? Yeah, I'm probably like halfway through.
Yeah.
25.
Yeah, maybe less. I don't want to be too ambitious.
Do you think there's any? Do you want to do all 50 states, or do you think why?
It's kind of why for me. It's always like when I find out we're going somewhere weird, not weird, but like like we went to Mississippi, and I was like, huh, probably would have done that otherwise. Pretty cool. So that I get excited about that kind of stuff.
All right, good to know. I'm under 10 remaining, so I probably will just go. The Dakotas. That's going to be a weekend. To make it happen. Like that's going to be this is
Deadwood, dude. That's
it's not going to sort of happen. I was 15 minutes from Nebraska when I went to Colorado playing Valley Neal, and I went just get it. check
Go
it
get
off the
gas
box.
over there.
Yeah, but I was like, I don't know if that really counts. I don't know if that counts. So then I felt like if you're not really doing it, if you're not at least going to get a sandwich and take in a town, then it's not really visiting. And then I had a flight to catch anyway. Then who knows?
It's probably a good policy.
I spent like 4 hours in Fort Morgan, though. I loved it. Went shopping, had Mexican, worked out at the gym for the day. So again, shout out to, I know they call it Fart Morgan. That seems a little mean.
I love fart humor. So
I know you do. That's why I said it.
Good.
All right, Ryan, you continue to impress me with your instincts. Uh-oh, this is a compliment, which I guess should not be surprising considering your success for not being a runner. Your knowledge from the 40 to 5K is spot on. It makes me smile whenever the topic comes up. So keep going with your gut on that. I did run in high school, so I thought I had some frame of reference, but then I guess we had a bunch of slow people that wanted to start yelling at the pod. I also love that you immediately shot down Portsmouth, Norfolk. I actually lived there for 3 years. Very good call. At the same time as a Floridian, I was both offended and amused of your evaluation of Georgia. That was, look, a surrounding area of Georgia. That's also another mistake that all of us probably make is we go to one part of like a huge state and go, yep, nailed it. This place sucks. Can be really unfair to some nice towns. Hawaii is one of my remaining 2 states, but I would definitely say San Diego or Kings Bay due to its Jackson. San Diego or Kings Bay due to its proximity for the recent life advice. Okay. 2 weeks ago, I got to cross off Wyoming, Montana, and North Dakota. So this guy's already halfway through the Dakotas while running in Jackson. Oh, okay. Here we go. As the altitude was kicking in, the topographical ignorance of me, remember I'm a Floridian, I had this nondescript feeling of obligation to somehow defend your honor. If you have any ideas, let me know. And the next time I'm there, and there will certainly be a next time, I'll comply. Thanks to everybody in Jackson or anyone that visits there. I was even invited to a charity golf tournament pretty shortly after my stay. I just felt like it was too hot for me to come back that soon. So
that's probably a smart move.
Yeah. I mean, it was really nice how many people felt bad for me because there were plenty that didn't. So it was a nice little balance. Whatever's out there in the atmosphere. So yeah, look, anybody that goes and visits, I would just say eat. Go eat and you'll be fine. Finally, to all the real runners out there who know a sub 8-minute mile is not boast worthy, make sure to make it down to a town in North Dakota before setting out to run. As Google informed me, gray wolves are making a comeback there. Kyle, gray wolves.
Where's that in the hierarchy of wolves?
I imagine somebody could look that up pretty quickly.
I figured you might know. You're in that part of the world more often than either of us, right?
You're asking me if I'm in the gray wolf part of the world?
I don't know. I feel like like in that area, you're like more than Mike and I. I'll just look it up. You know what? Go ahead. I'm not even into this email anymore. I'll look it up.
We had a shorter pod today, so I knew we were going to stretch a bit. To all the fake runners, maybe don't. See if a pack of wolves nipping at your heels will inspire you to run a quicker mile time. Just joking. Anyone who hits the pavement or trails has my respect. Shirt on or shirt off, to reference another life advice. Yeah, thanks. That was nice, and let us know. Let us know about that town. All right. Let's do. This one was kind of intense here. All right. Am I obligated to pay this guy back? And let us know any of those wolves facts whenever you feel like they fit, Kyle.
You got it.
What's up? My name's. Well, this guy's just letting us know. Do we use his name?
I think at a certain point, dude, if you're putting all this in there and you're not mentioning it, like what? How much is it our problem?
Well, he says his name and where he's from, and it's a roommate situation. So let's not do that. Let's call him Dave. Dave, you're a legend. What's up? My name's Dave. I'm from Maine. Newish listener, long time Rigger fan. Pick a basketball comp, taller Muggsy Bogues with less decent handles. So backstory, my roommate and I used to work together at a restaurant when I broke up with my girlfriend at the time I moved in with him. We then added another roommate for my current job. He says where that job is too. So let's just help this guy out. And things are good for a while. After a few months, the first roommate, who I used to work with, we'll call him John, started seeing a girl and eventually dated her. Around the time, I was also seeing a girl and started dating her as well. These guys are on fire. A few months after they started dating, John gave his girlfriend a garage door opener for the house. She then proceeded to start coming and going as she pleases, so often to the point my other roommate and I would never know who was actually home when the garage door opened. I sat him down to talk to him about this and told him I didn't like it. He told me he talked to her, but he, quote, wanted her to have the garage door opener to check on his dog. This really pissed me off after everything I had said, but at the time, I let it go and just moved on. Fast forward a few months later, and she's staying the night there every night, cooking breakfast, not cleaning up, and is loud as fuck every morning, waking me up and the other roommate. All caps. Not to mention when she cooks breakfast, she eats fish for breakfast. Fish, all caps. Doom is not on Twitter. Like, what is actually wrong with you? On top of all of this, the other day she was talking to my girlfriend and mentioned how John said it was okay for her to basically move in because he needs help with rent. This is what set me over the edge. This has been happening since February. It's now almost July. We're moving out in a week or so. I still owe him for about 2 months worth of utilities. So as far as I'm concerned, he will never see that money. He can go F himself. I moved out today, the 21st, a week early, because I couldn't stand being in the same house with him and his moron of a girlfriend. I also owe him for a couch he gave me. And feel kind of obligated to pay that, but not extremely obligated. I love that idea. I feel obligated, but not extremely obligated.
I could be talked into it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking of the things when I was younger. I'm like, I'm obligated, but not like married to the obligation of this. Icing on the cake is when I first moved in, he was complaining about the last roommate he had and how he had done the same thing. I have no respect for this guy. Do you guys think I'm obligated to pay him, or is this okay? Thanks, love the show. All right. I think you actually have to pay him.
Yeah. I guess the one thing I would say, I'm a sucker for a deal. You're not getting a deposit back, or you moved in when this guy was already the guy, right? I don't know. Did you pay any sort of deposit thing for this guy or not? If so, maybe you're like, all right, you know what? I'm not getting a deposit. You do that on,
No deposits
we'll
were
call
mentioned.
it even. Yeah, you're right. Because if he was already there, it probably didn't happen. I think if you don't pay, he's not going to just see his problem. Like, he's not going to see what he was doing to you and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Even if he's not, you kind of want him to see the shitty life that he helped create for you while you were there. And he's never going to do that. And not paying him is certainly not going to help with that. We had, especially because you had another roommate too. Like, you guys maybe should have ganged up on him and talked to him about this. For us, like, we had a dude who his girlfriend was going in through our window. Like, we didn't even have extra keys. We weren't like thinking about making copies. She was just coming through our window when no one was home. So some dude, the lengths that dudes will go to not see a problem with something like this is large. But I think you should pay it. How old is he? Did it say at the top?
I'm going to say 20s. Restaurant.
That might change my answer a little bit. I don't know, dude. If we're talking low 20s,
That's a 20-something email.
Yeah,
it has to be. Nobody's
might change my
38 answer. Going, dude. And then
maybe you counter him with like 300. Whatever. I don't know.
What you're doing here is you're doing some really convenient math to get yourself out of giving
true.
up money that you don't want to give up. And it really is unrelated. I mean, you agreed to pay utilities and you have to pay the utilities. I mean, it sounds like you want to burn this guy for the couch too, but this isn't.
Judy wouldn't stand for it. I'll tell you that, if we're going just by what's right and wrong here.
Yeah, Judy. I mean, I don't know, Wargon.
Open and shut.
This is more trouble than it's worth, I think. Like,
yeah.
It sounds like you just want this dude out of your life. Just give him the money and you'll never see him again. What do you guys think though about being like, well, girlfriend used a lot of the electric this month. Trying to like haggle him down a little less.
I don't remember using a hairdryer.
Right.
20 minutes. Come on.
Right. Now it's probably more trouble than it's worth. That would annoy him. It sounds like this dude just like doesn't consider other people when he's making decisions. So he's like, yeah, I wanted my girlfriend here. She came more often, and like, I don't see how that affects you. That sounds like that's his mindset.
Everybody, there's always someone that has the upper hand. Relationship, work, friendships, roommates. He moved in first. He thinks of it as his place.
Yeah.
Even though other people are moving in and renting. It'd be great if there was some egalitarian approach. It's just not. He's thinking he just has a little bit more of the juice. He thinks he can do whatever he wants. My guess is the garage door opener thing wasn't really about the dog. It was just easy for him to come and go. And if that annoys you, like it sounds like you also just don't really like the girlfriend, whether that's the fish breakfast or whatever, that she's
Certainly
there all
helps.
the time. And if it's a smaller apartment and there's bodies, just extra bodies, less volume, less, area to move around, just not the spacing that we have in today's game. I can understand all these things really being annoying to you, but
Yeah.
I mean, what you'd be doing is you'd be doing something fucked up. You'd be doing something absolutely wrong. Neutral parties would not agree with you. All right. We're neutral in this thing. For you to go like, yeah, your girlfriend kind of sucked and now I'm stiffing you on 2 months of utilities and I'm keeping this couch. I don't think you should do that. And I don't really think it's debatable.
There's nothing like the hate that develops when, your roommate brings in just an addition that starts kicking her feet up. She broke my vacuum in college. Just totally didn't admit it. She would start to come up with like new rules, or suggestions for rules, sort of like she'd put up like,
as a non-constituent.
Yeah, non-constituent, and she'd come up with something on the level of like 1 cup, 1 bowl, 1 spoon, like that you had, like a fucking revolutionary thing. Like she'd just like introduce it.
We were ahead of our time.
And it's like,
we
what
actually
about
talked about the 1 cup thing, not that one. The 1 cup, 1 plate.
Right? Good phrasing. I mean, she would be like, what do you think about like 7 to 8, like maybe just quiet time in the house, so like Eli and we can all study. And it was like, Eli,
what?
Get your girl, bro. Get your fucking girl. And we had all like united. But there was nothing. My point when I brought that up and kind of bungled the story earlier was just like, no matter how much we tried, there was 4 of us other guys. It never broke through the wall of the 5th guy's mind that this was insane. And, even when we were coming back from Christmas break and she had stayed in our house that we didn't know. And we're pulling into the house and we see her on her bike. And we're like, is she going to our house? And like, we just watch her park her bike and open our window and go in through the side. And we're like, we've lost control of the ship. By the way, gray wolves are the largest in America.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't
What
know how I
about
was going to fit that.
dire wolves are back now.
Yeah, it's not on this Burke Museum site, so we'll have to check back. I mean, are they even that big yet? They just were born, right?
They're just
probably
babies,
still,
yeah. Give them a couple years.
At this moment, yeah.
Yeah. No, let's keep tracking that dire wolf thing.
Yeah.
Just in case. All right. Shirtless mowing. Bad look or no big deal. 6'4", 230. Max bench 225. I work out at Planet Fitness, so it's mostly 75-pound dumbbells. It is capped at 75-pound dumbbells. I went to the Planet Fitness in Colorado, man. The guy was like, hey, are you familiar with everything that we have here? It says you're not here a lot. I was like, well, I don't live here. And I forgot to cancel this. And it's like $15 a month. So why not do it? And then he's like, I'd love to like show you around the sauna. And I was like, can I just work out? Can I do that version? And the guy was like, yeah, okay. You just want to go work out? I was like, yeah, can I not talk to anybody or get a tour? And then there's only 75-pound dumbbells. But I do think the marketing, the approach here, so I'm not trying to like cause any shit here because I know PMT, those guys are big Planet Fitness guys. I think the whole idea is that it's supposed to be the most welcoming gym experience because the gym can be very intimidating. So I think that capping it at 75 pounds, I think there's some stuff at play here where the idea behind Planet Fitness is to be the most welcoming. But I got to tell you too, when you walk in the lobby and they're cranking the Macarena, I was like, I haven't heard this song in fucking forever. And I was like, yeah, this is welcoming. I mean, who doesn't when they hear, hey, Macarena? I mean, come on. At this point, you can't even get mad at that song anymore.
Undeniable.
They still have the Link alarm there?
I don't know.
I would assume they walk that back. I would assume.
It's like if you're lifting something and you like throw the weights down and it like makes a loud noise. They used to like set an alarm off. Like,
yeah, there was a purple
that's
light.
not okay here.
Stupid. I imagine they probably changed leadership and we're like, you know what? I think first order of business, let's walk that back. There's a whole type of dude that hates us. Maybe we just, maybe we don't do that.
Well, if they only have 75s.
Can't make that much noise.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Howdy, guys. Writing because I've started to wonder about the impression I'm giving my neighbors by mowing my lawn shirtless. Well, let me just stop you right there and say you've got my vote. Full background, my wife and I live just south of a relatively large southern city and recently bought our first home in a new developing neighborhood that's maybe 1/3 finished. Not all the houses on our street are built yet, but the ones that are have families living in them, and more moving every month. By the way, congrats on your first home. It's a big deal, and good for you, man. We moved in during the spring when the weather was still nice, but now the summer heat has set in. I found that mowing every week is a lot easier. Done tarps off. It's a great way to catch some extra rays, work on the tan, get that vitamin D. Plus, once you locked into a farmer's tan or worse, tank top lines, it's almost impossible to recover. My street is about half full at this point and continues to grow, and that's where my concern comes in. Am I giving off a bad impression by mowing shirtless? I use a riding lawnmower, and the total area is about 1 acre. It takes a couple hours to knock everything out on a Saturday or a Sunday, so I really do benefit from the sun. No one's ever said anything. It's not like I feel embarrassed or out of shape. This isn't a body confidence issue. It's more of a how am I being perceived thing. I just turned 30, and maybe that's why I'm thinking about it more. Growing up, my granddad mowed shirtless into his 60s, and no one thought twice.
Yep. That's where it comes from, dude. That's who taught us. Those old
different
guys.
Era.
Those leathery old men who didn't give a shit. That's right.
Kyle wants to be one of those guys more than anything in his life.
Yes.
No, I love it. I love that you know exactly who you want to be right now. But at that same time, I don't want to be known as the weirdo who's always shirtless on the mower, especially in a new and growing neighborhood we plan to be in for the long haul. So is this something I should actually be worried about? Or am I overthinking it? Yes. And most people have too many of their own problems to be judging the 30-year-old shirtless mower in the neighborhood. Additional, if it matters, it's a normal middle-class neighborhood, pretty diverse group of residents, split between Latinos, African-Americans, whites, nothing crazy. This isn't some gated community where you have to be a dress code to walk around and expect people to comment on your house if it hasn't been perfectly maintained. Most people are very friendly, and I doubt they would even say something if it did bother them. Well, yeah, man, this is more about you overthinking this than anything else. I can't, of all the problems we've been presented, this is not a problem. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool that you're being considerate, but now I'm starting to wonder, like, do you overthink everything? I cannot tell you how many people, no one's even said anything to you. No one said anything. There's been zero confrontation. You haven't even gotten the annoying neighbor that wants to be involved with everything being upset. Shirts off, where you live, home ownership. You know how many people look forward to home ownership strictly as men just to maintain the lawn, even though they're going to get sick of it after a little while? But those first tractor purchases.
Then you get to complain about it too. That's the point there.
Yeah. So this could be your thing. And if you're happy and you're not hurting anybody, it sounds like 6'4", 230, well dispersed mass.
Yeah, right. Oh man. Yard work, I think, is like the Uno draw 4 of shirts off situations. I think some people are entitled to their opinions when there's dudes out running, jogging, no matter what shape they're in. If they're just like, man, really? And I'm of the school of thought, like, hey man, whatever, I don't care. But I think if you're doing work in your yard, it doesn't matter. I mean, you could be a fat slob, shirts off. Everyone understands. I think the only thing that makes it cooler is if you have that, like, it's not a bucket hat, but it's sort of like an old guy, like fisherman's hat with the no shirt look is probably the ultimate.
And you're still smoking.
Yeah. I just think that everyone understands this. And if you're worried about, what this neighborhood, whoever's buying homes now, probably still millennials, are thinking about the shirts off guy, like, be the change you want to be in the world. Power through that. Everyone will get used to it because everyone has to get used to it because this has to stay a part of our society. Old guy shirtless, mowing lawn. Young guy shirtless. I mean, get your kid out there shirtless. Just start them young. I don't know. I'm just saying. I think this specifically with yard work has to stay. This is correct.
You're 100% overthinking this. Nobody cares what you look like on your yard. What did give me a little pause, though? A couple hours to mow a little over an acre?
Dude,
maybe
Mike,
I lived on a little over an acre. I lived on a little over an acre growing up. Maybe there's a lot of trees, but I don't know. Gave me a little pause.
Well, hold on. Were you hitting the weed whacker, or were you just going by the fence being like, all right, that's good enough?
Well, are we talking just this guy's the ride-on one? Or you
we
think
don't know
he's
what
doing
got.
everything?
He didn't say he's got
We
a
need to
right
follow
on.
up.
He
We
might
need to
have
follow
a
up.
he might have an assist.
No, he
might
said he
have
has a
a-
right on. He said he has a right
Wargon,
on.
what kind
right
of turn radius were we talking about you growing up here?
We had the zero turner, so
Yeah.
maybe that cut
Wow.
down on some time.
Fancy kid over here.
Yeah.
Wow. Zero turn. My dad would hand me the push and be like, there's your zero turn.
Sky's the limit, buddy.
I don't have enough frame. I haven't mowed a lawn fucking forever. So I don't know.
How fast would you have to go to brag about it, though? Cutting a lawn.
I'm staying out of.
Do you ever get the itch to mow a lawn? I certainly do.
Yeah, every once in a while. The smell is just.
It's been pretty crazy how long I've gone my entire life without having a yard. I don't think I've had a yard since my senior year in college, and that was not well maintained.
Well, certainly not.
It was like a dog. We weren't running a dog fighting ring, but that's what it turned into. Like we weren't betting dogs were getting hurt or anything, but it just dudes would have a dog. Then another guy buys a fucking dog. And then somebody comes over and is like, I'll bring my dog. And you're like, cool. We could have done something. I think we tried to do some downhill skiing on it. We did. We tried that one day because just a little study break. But yeah, now that I've run through every place I've lived, in West Hartford, it was all maintained. And I bought like an all-weather couch, and I bought the fire pit from Restoration Hardware. And I had one party ever. It was a good party. I never went out there ever.
You weren't in charge of that maintenance, though, right? I mean, that was part of your dues, right?
Oh yeah, HOA charge you enough for it. Right?
It's kind of like a Kevin Wilde's half baked. I'm just like, I wonder if there was a service that you'd be like, 30 minutes. I'd just like to get out there one time, just 30 minutes. I don't have to finish the job.
Yeah.
I'll try my best to go diagonal today. I'm not going straight up and down. We'll go diagonal. And, if I finish it, I finish it. But obviously, like that business model wouldn't work, but it'd be nice if you could just, fire it up. Be like, dude, only 1.7 miles away. Shit, I got nothing to do. If it's this or frolic, I'll go hit the lawn.
Yeah, it's healthier.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Now I just realized for a guy who likes things, I don't have a lot of land.
Right.
I have to watch Far and Away again, maybe get motivated. Tom Cruise. Okay, that'll do it for the pod. Let's remind everybody
about TLC.
About the televisions. And speaking of companies, today's life advice was presented by State Farm. From fender benders to storm damage, or even just a question about your policy, State Farm is there to listen, to assist, and help you get the right coverage when it matters most. Through an agent online or on the app, you can feel confident making any of life's big plays because when the pressure dials up, you have a teammate who can help. State Farm with the assist. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability and eligibility vary by state. Okay, thanks to Frias, thanks to Wargon, thanks to Kyle. Normal schedule this week. So we got the draft, the first round Wednesday night. We'll recap it all. I think we got Billis coming on Thursday as well. So another big pod for you on this week. People are like, hey, are you mad basketball's over? I'm like, dude, it just started. Ryen Russillo podcast, Ringer, Spotify.
They were going to name me Michael Jordan. My dad was like, I don't think he can live up to it. So they named me Michael Jared.
Must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is there. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.